Guys, hello and welcome to a new Hobby Nightmare. Hope you're doing well, folks. First of all, thank you very much for those of you who got involved in the video yesterday. I know it was a bit of a dark one. It was a bit of a difficult one to sit through, but that's what we're here for, right? We're here to help people, and you guys helped me do that, and some of the advice you gave was amazing. I've spoken to Exarch since then. We had a little conversation last night. Over the phone, which is very nice, and yeah, we had a little conflab. He's doing a lot better, as in, you know, not there, but I think it did give him a shot up the arm, so that's brilliant that we were able to do that for him. He's still very shy, but we're working on it. He's on the Discord now, and we're gonna have some fun. Hopefully, he'll be on the movie night tonight. That'll be pretty cool. If you want to be on the Discord, one thing that did happen yesterday was that we got a really good few suggestions of doing like a crisis hotline on the Discord. There is now that on the Discord, so if that was you yesterday, well done to you. Thank you for your suggestions. I do listen, and that is now on the Discord. So that was a really good idea. So if you are really struggling and you can't pussyfoot around because you can feel yourself slipping into somewhere really dark, there is now a place on the Discord where you can come and talk, and somebody somewhere will be there to talk to either talk you down off a ledge or talk to you and get you through this really difficult period so you can get to another day and hopefully get yourself some more permanent help. Again, nobody on there is, unless they say so, is a therapist, okay? I do have therapist numbers, and I always say to you, I always advise going to therapy. It does help. So I will give those numbers out to you. If you go on the crisis hotline and you ask for one, I'll give you one of the cards of one of the many therapists that I come across in my local area who are really good guys. It does cost you money, but I don't get anything for it, you know, because therapy costs money these days. It is what it is. So if you like what I do, the subscribe button is down below. The Patreon button is also down below. And if you want to be involved in a prize draw at the end of the month, or at the start of the month, the 6th of August, it is £50 worth of free models from Composite Games, or a Dark Angels Command Squad. That is what is available on the prize draw on the 6th of August. All you got to do is be a member of the channel or be a patron, and you'll be entered in for each and every single one of those that you do. So if you're a legend and you're a member of the Patreon and you're a member of the channel, then you'll be entered into the prize draw twice. So let's get on with it, because I've rambled enough, but I needed to just give you that preamble at the start to make sure that things are moving forwards with Exarch, because a lot of people were a little bit concerned for him, which is great, which is what we wanted, right? It's what we wanted. And Exarch, I know you're listening, man. Come and talk to us on the Discord. You joined yesterday, but you haven't really said anything, so come and talk to us. Don't just email me. Come and talk to us and get yourself out your shell. We're here for you. Let's move on. Jacob says, "Hi North, I have two funny stories about D&D for you. Dungeons and Dragons, okay. When my group was starting a new campaign, I was thinking about my new character. Ideas landed on maybe an orphan kid who found a mysterious mask in some haunted house. It gave me sorcerer's powers, so far so good. But I had the audacity to write in my backstory about potatoes and a knob, as in a door handle, not anything rude. Okay, weird, potatoes and a doorknob. Because I wanted to have a sad moment in my story, I wrote my character that my character set his house on fire and got burned by the handle, as in the doorknob, as in just like in Home Alone. My DM didn't like it because, and I quote, 'You lived in a poor district. You can't have handles on your doors.' What? If I allow it, I need to place a door handles on all the factories in the world. Dude, okay, this is one of those DMs who takes things way too seriously, okay? It's a game that uses the theatre of the mind. So use the theatre of the mind and stop being such a bitch. Well, I was dumbfounded, and I was forced to change that little detail. Second bad move on my part was writing that I ate potatoes from the trash after my house and family burned. Well, apparently, potatoes can't be found in a poor district. Of course, I was forced to change this detail as well. Dude, potatoes can be found in a poor district because they are one of the many things that the Irish are ripped apart for, right? Because Ireland, back in the day, was extremely poor. and they grew potatoes for the most part and exported them all over the world because the soil there was really good for growing potatoes. Potatoes are the stock and trade of the poor. That is what we eat. We eat potatoes. We need the carbs. Why? Because we work in mines and factories and on building sites and all that sort of stuff. So potatoes are the food of the poor. It's always been that way. This guy obviously doesn't know what he's talking about, you know, but, you know. I'm going to read your second one out another time, because I'm trying to keep it to one story per person. But that was a... I like little anecdotes like that aren't huge stories, but they're just giving you a little insight into how some DMs can be really anal about stuff. And not only anal, they don't know what they're talking about most of the time. Anyway, Mantic Mac says, "Hey, oh exile of Northern. CM here. Yeah, I'm going to call you Mantic Mac from now on, because you talk about Mantic all the time, and your second name is Mac, so I'm going to do that. One of your veterans in the Discord and a fan of all things Mantic. Yes, indeed. I thought I'd drop you this story of my hobby nightmare. Well, it's more of a funny story, I think, but it's still quite nightmarish. So a bit of background. I am an old Games Workshop player from back in the late 1980s, playing Space Crusade and Hero Quest, till getting involved at the start of 3rd edition 40k. I played 40k and then moved to Fantasy. I played Fantasy up until the death of the Old World. Sadly, when the Old World got destroyed, I tried to get into Age of Sigmar, but the game, however, was just not for me. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. And here's the thing, and there's something that really annoys me, is that a lot of people who didn't like Age of Sigmar, they were put into this boat of, well, you didn't like it because you wanted the Old World, and if you didn't have the Old World, you never even gave it a chance. I know dozens of people who loved the Old World, who honestly gave the Age of Sigmar a fair shot, but Games Workshop decided to go low-brow and hit below the belt, and the original Age of Sigmar was a middle finger to all the people who liked Fantasy. It was literally like they wrote a rule book and lore to say, if you liked the Old World, we don't want you here. I'm not exaggerating there. Go and read the old rules. The old rules were a slap in the face to anybody who liked Fantasy. Right? I know a lot of people, a lot of old Fantasy players who extended a hand to Games Workshop, said, yeah, I'll try Age of Sigmar, man. You know, I'll try it. And you know what Games Workshop did? They fucking spat in their hand. And they went, okay, alright. They wiped off their hand, take your Age of Sigmar and shove it right up your fucking arse. And they walked away. Now Games Workshop are coming back and they're making Age of Sigmar a lot more like old Fantasy. They're doing more in-depth rules, actually respect the player's time and respect the player's maturity. And also they're trying to move the lore into a place that's not wishy-washy bullshit like Mortal Kombat, right? If Mortal Kombat has better lore than your war game, and it has similar lore to your war game, but better, you're doing something wrong. Anyway, I know a lot of people who extended a hand to Games Workshop and said, I want to try your Age of Sigmar, and the original form of Age of Sigmar was bullshit. And they walked away. That's not their fault, it's Games Workshop's. Alright, cool. I abandoned my 3,000 points of Undead and moved on to focus back to 40k. Then 40k 8th edition dropped. I forced myself to play this game, but the more it went along, the more frustrated and annoyed I got with the game. It simply was not what I was looking for. This led to arguments amongst me and my friends, who played to the point that when 9th edition was announced, I saw the direction of the game and realised that current 40k was also probably not for me. So, I dropped the orcs I was collecting and my Space Marines, about 3,000 points of orcs and 7,000 points of Marines, rather easily. Oh my god, dude, that's a big change. That is a big change. Like, I look at my Marines, and I could never do that. And I've only got like 3,000 points of Marines, maybe, and I couldn't do that. I couldn't just let it all go and never use it again. Jesus, no, that'd be horrible. Out of sorts, the pandemic raging, I went looking for something else. When Fantasy had died, I was aware of the other games being about, the 9th Age and Kings of War, things like that. I know Rick Priestley had helped write the intro to Kings of War 2nd edition. Seeing that it had moved on to the 3rd edition, I decided to give it a go, and then found the other games that Mantic does too, and I've not looked back since. They make great rules and I really like, and yes, the models aren't always the best, but they are getting a lot better. The new goblins and ogres are, to me, simply stunning. Okay, yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't like the... How do I put it? Like, the round, smooth edgedness of most of their models, you know what I mean? It's just not really my kind of thing. I love the rules, though. From what I've read, they are good games. It's one of the main reasons why I love one-page rules, because it is a really good rule set. A good rule set that's really fun to play, really simple, but it lets me use my Citadel miniatures. And if I don't want to use Citadel miniatures, I can use any miniatures that I want. It doesn't matter, right? I can go to a reseller if I want. By the way, if you want to do that and you're playing one-page rules, that's up to you, dude. You can do that. You know, you play the hobby in whatever way that you can. Because as long as Games Workshop keep trying to gouge your wallets, I used to be, you all know me, I used to be in the camp of, please don't use resellers. You know, please don't get recasts. Because technically they're illegal and it's killing the hobby. But I'm sorry, they're not the ones killing the hobby. Scalpers are not the ones killing the hobby. Games Workshop are the ones killing the hobby. Because they play into the fucking hands of these people. And they don't need to. They don't need to. One good release in Leviathan showed them what to do. And still, most of the people I know couldn't get a copy. And had to resort to scalpers. And had to resort to eBay when the prices are now shooting up. Which is exactly what I fucking said would happen, by the way. I got lambasted for that point. That's exactly what I said would happen. And that there would be false rarity after the fact. And Games Workshop don't give a shit about that, because they won't make any more. If they made more now, there wouldn't be a problem. Right? Make them to order, please. You could solve that problem overnight by making them to order. I refuse to give a company credit for doing the bare minimum. That isn't enough. That isn't enough. If they do if they do like a box set that is essentially a Space Marine player's wet dream, right? New, really cool models. All of them in the set are really cool new models. If they do that, right, and they bring out a set like that for like £100, and they don't make it made to order, about 10 to 20% of the people who want one will get one. I'm telling you now. Tyranids doesn't really count. You know, Xenos doesn't really count. Doesn't sell as well. But if you got a Space Marine box set like that, I'm telling you now, and they didn't make it made to order, we wouldn't be getting one. I wouldn't be getting one, and I get a really nice store in Composite Games who try and keep things back for me. I couldn't ask for it because it'd be too precious. It'd be one of those things. I'm literally taking some stock off their shelf that they need to sell because their local customers aren't getting them. Right? Make them all made to order, and you solve all the problems. And that's why I don't have any sympathy for them when they do this. Even if there's a good release, like Leviathan was a good release. Even with a good release, I refuse to give them credit because it's not made to order. If you make it made to order, you solve all of the scalping problems. They're gone. They're gone. Literally gone. They won't do it. Why? Why? Because false rarity forces their bottom line. They're taking money out of your wallet and going, no. Give us that or you're not getting this. They're holding you to ransom. They're saying, give us the money now or you're not getting this box set. Yeah, go fuck yourself. Don't defend that shit. So on to the main point of the story. It was at the tail end of the pandemic, and we had started working hybrid, meaning that I was heading to the office for a couple of days a week and I was at home the rest of the week. It had been nearly 2 years since I'd last been in my local Warhammer store. So, needing some supplies, I headed on in. Most of the staff knew of my conversion from the might of Games Workshop to the lowly Mantic, and I nodded to one of the staff that I knew. One of the staff didn't know me, and was new. Let's call him R. I'm going to call him Rob, okay, because you called him R. I'm going to call him Rob. Let's call him Rob. Rob approached me as I was looking at some paints and the brush supplies to get some supplies for my home hobby set. We had the usual conversation, what I was looking for and what I was getting, and till the question came up. He said, "So, what are you working on?" I turned and honestly said, "Oh yeah, I'm working on a full I'm working on a full model count Kings of War Goblin army." That conversation died quicker than you can imagine. The other staff member, whom I knew, burst out into laughter as Rob, who I'd been talking to immediately stopped talking to me and walked to the back of the store like I was some kind of leper who had announced to the store that I was contagious. Rob then ignored me for the rest of my time in the store. I bought the things from the other staff member and left. Anyway, cheers for the channel. I don't always agree with you, but it's sometimes fun to listen to the nightmares. Yeah, dude, I would never do that, right? Do you know what I would treat that as? If I was running a Games Workshop store, and I used to, if you came into my store saying, hey, I collect another game, you know, but I'm here for some painting supplies, you know what I would do? I'd sell you your fucking painting supplies, speak to you in a very nice way, and try and get you to do some more Warhammer. I'd show you what I'm working on. Oh, what are you working on? Oh, I'm working on a Goblin Army for Kings of War. That's really cool, man. How's that game going? What's it like? Then you tell me, you know, you go on about it, or you talk about it. I'm like, okay, that's really cool. Hey, can I show you what I'm working on? And of course, you being a nice hobbyist, you go, yeah. I say, oh, come and have a look at these new Space Marines. These are new Space Marines that came out with 8th edition. Look at those. Oh, are those bigger? Yeah, those are bigger. They're bigger now. They're like true scale now, compared to everything else. Isn't that cool? Yeah, man. Yeah, cool. Hey, I got them out that starter box set over there. The game's a lot simpler now as well, and that's how you sell somebody on the hobby, right? I've asked him about his hobby. I've respected the fact that he does Kings of War. He doesn't do a Games Workshop game, and at the bare minimum, I've had a nice conversation, and I sell him some hobby supplies. Nothing lost off my time. It's fine, right? But I might get this guy to be like, hey, do you know what, this 40k thing? I'm gonna give this another go. Pass me one of those starter box sets. You never know. You never know. Don't just walk away. If you're a Games Workshop guy, this attitude was prevalent all the time at Games Workshop. If you weren't doing Warhammer, you were a disease. You shouldn't be in the store. No, respect other people's time and energy that they're putting into their hobby. You are not the hobby, Games Workshop. You are Disney to animation. That's what you are. But there's a whole slew of other animators out there who don't work at fucking Disney. Right? Anyway. John says, hey Exile, I hope you're doing well. I am, thank you. I would love to have you back on my channel sometime, and I promise we will talk about Cyberpunk this time around. Yeah, cool. I remember being on the being on that channel. That was really fun. That was back in the day, wasn't it? When I was first starting out, or after I'd first come back for a couple of months. That was really cool. Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to. We need to run that Cyberpunk Red game we said we were going to run for a while. Anyway. Compliment incoming. Oh, I do like compliments. Your channel has helped me get through my days, and I really appreciate your hard work. You do a wonderful job adding insight to some of the wildest hobby stories I've ever heard. I'm happy to see your channel thriving. Cheers, man. Well, have me on again, and we'll have a little chat. Anyway, on to the story. Why I quit my local league. Oh, God. It's going to be one that's going to make me angry, isn't it? I have two loves. Cyberpunk and Warhammer. While I have been playing Cyberpunk 2020 and Cyberpunk Red for many years, I cannot say the same for Warhammer. I vividly remember being a 14-year-old boy at the Glendale Galleria, passing by a store called Games Workshop. It was a large store with multiple tables, 4 or more employees, games, minis, and this badass giant statue of a guy in power armor in the corner. I remember admiring his helmet for looking so intimidating. Who was this badass warrior? I snapped out of my trance by a bellowing "Wah!" from a demo game going on inside the store. That's when I knew there was something different about this place. Long story short, I was drawn to the store and I begged my parents for enough money to buy a couple of boxes. But without any further guidance, I never put together any more than 3 models. Throughout the subsequent years, my mentality was such that Warhammer is an unnecessarily expensive hobby. I will never have enough money to buy it and enjoy it fully. Fast forward to 2020. I'm 33 and a brand new father of a 2-year-old boy that I had with my beautiful, loving Latina wife. Yeah, I fuck you, dude. Like every dude... Every American dude, and I know a few because I lived in the Midwest. Every American dude who meets a gorgeous Latina always throws it into the conversation. They don't just say my wife. They say, my beautiful, loving Latina wife, don't they? You know what I mean? There are so many... Do you know why that show American Family has an old white dude with this gorgeous Latina woman? Because that's normal. I see that all the time when I was over there. That happened all the time. And they would always be like, so proud. They would turn up to like drinks and shit. Hey, have you guys seen my wife? Like, you see my Latina wife? Look at my Latina wife. Look at it. And it's like, yeah, okay, cool. Fuck you, dude. Like, that's... I'm just bitter. That's all I am. But like it was just something I noticed when I was over there. I was like, these fucking guys. They're like these gorgeous like Mexican women or wherever they've come from. My God. Anyway, so things are really looking good for me. Good. I made up for you. I have a good job, a YouTube channel that's getting some traction, and I finally feel like I have my shit together. Awesome. I realised that I could totally go to my local shop and purchase some Warhammer if I wanted to. I could learn to paint and play. I could even start reading some novels if I wanted to. I am a grown responsible adult, and I have grown responsible adult money. Yeah, it is phasing, isn't it? Like, it is really weird when you get to that stage. And I'm recently getting there myself. I'm getting to a stage in my life where I look around and I'm going, oh, I have resources now. Right, I need to look after my kid, I need to look after my grandpa, I need to look after my family, make sure everything's paid. Okay, all that's paid. Wow, that was daunting. And then you're like, what do I do with my spare time? Because that's a decision now. You never had to make that decision when you were a kid. You went with your impulse, right? Now, you got all the freedom in the world, and it can be quite overwhelming, especially for a nerd who likes doing cool shit. Have any of you ever had that? Let me know in the comment section. I realised that... Oh, sorry, I'm going to move on. With a pat on my back, my wife supportively said, just go for it, John. And so I did just that. I purchased a bunch of Thousand Suns. Oh, ruined. If you're going to go, Psycho Astartes, you go with Grey Knights. That just is what it is, man. It just is what it is. That's trad behaviour. Getting your Primarch spine bent out of shape by fucking Lehman Russ, a furry. Shame on you. And no one can say shit to you when you're a Grey Knight player. What about your Primarch? Mine's the fucking Emperor, dude, so, suck it. Moving on. I purchased a bunch of Thousand Suns. Blech. I began reading Book 1 of the Horus Heresy. Okay. I set out to learn how to be a miniature painter. And off I went. I devoured 40k. I couldn't get enough of it. Oh, I bet you there's loads of people listening to this going, oh yeah, I've been there, that was brilliant. What a nice time in your life. And I'm happy to say, that feeling has not diminished yet. The hobby got me through the pandemic, and no matter how bad an edition of Warhammer it is, I will be a miniature painter for life. After I fully painted over 2,000 points of Thousand Suns, that's good job. Good job. 1,000 Suns are not easy to paint. That's a good job, man. Well done. And I had some games under my belt. I decided to join my local league that was advertised at my friendly local game store's Facebook page. I figured I could get some locals, and I could meet some locals, and make some lasting connections with folks that are into the same game as me. And if all goes well, I can hopefully play with these people in the future. 2,000 points. You lock in your list for the first 3 games. Then you can make changes to it from games 4 to 6. It is a totally public league, and anyone is allowed to join. Your models are not required to be painted, but they must be built. Latest FAQ, latest chapter approved, etc. I bought a very meta, at the time, Thousand Suns list. Because I was warned that the locals play for blood. I wanted to make sure that I could play past turn 1. Even though playing the meta isn't always my style. Well, here's the thing, dude. I commend you. Because you're not going into their hobby space and wanting to change it to suit yourself. That's a big thumbs up, right? Big thumbs up to you. You are what I would define as the ideal Horus Heresy player. Go and find your nearest Horus Heresy people, go and collect Thousand Suns there, and go and play with them, because that's the kind of attitude that they really want. Is somebody going into their hobby and looking to be a part of it rather than wanting to change it, right? Great attitude, great style, and it works in 40k too. especially if you're going into a tournament-heavy scene. You knew it was going to be difficult, so you made a difficult list. You didn't turn up to a really, really hard-nosed tournament with a fluffy list and then bitch and moan that you lost. Right? Moving on. I play the units that I like, and I don't collect the ones that I don't like. Sometimes that mentally coincides with the meta, and sometimes it does not. My first opponent, yeah, mate, as somebody who has who needs to take Dread Knights in his army, I know what you mean. I don't want to take Dread Knights in my army, because Dread Knights fucking suck. They suck to look at, they suck to build, they suck to paint. Don't want them, but they are so powerful that it's just hard not to take them. Anyway. My first opponent was Sweet Daniel. That's his real name. He is a Chad of the hobby, and I want everybody to know that. Poor Sweet Daniel brought a very fluffy Blood Angels list, and I absolutely obliterated him with my sweaty meta list that featured Volkite Contemptor Dreadnoughts before they were nerfed 2 months later. I felt so bad about spanking Daniel so hard, but now that we're good friends, I remind him almost every time we hang out about the time I blasted his Sons of Sanguinius off the board. I smile, he gives me an annoyed look, and it makes my day. Dude. Okay. My second opponent was a meta tournament player with Forge World Knights. He demolished my army in 3 turns, and it was an expected result as Thousand Suns at the time were terrible against vehicle-heavy armies. My opponent was a great person though, and we hit it off as well. He was another example of a power gamer that is an awesome person. They do exist, and they are out there, take it from me. Oh yeah, they do. My third opponent was the person who started the league, and he was also an amazing opponent. It was one of the best games of my life. His Death Guard tied to my Thousand Suns, 85 to 85, in a grueling long match that went past store hours. The shop owner is a real Chad and stayed open for us. It was time to make changes to your list, if you would like, and I decided that I wanted to put Contemptors away. I wanted to field a fully fluffy list with Magnus. I didn't care if he was inefficient. He's a cool model, and I wanted to use him. Meta be damned. My next opponent is where the nightmare begins. Bear in mind, John, you've elected to take a fluffy list to a tournament where people play for blood. So I hope this isn't this is not a nightmare where you talk about, you know, oh my god, I was wiped off the table, because that's what you're signing up for now. Alright? Right, let's move on. We shall call my opponent Reggie, because I want to give Dave a break. The first red flag, because I'm talking about Reggie, the first red flag appeared when Reggie would take long periods of time to respond to my messages about putting a game together. He would respond in 1 or 2 words, and it felt like he could care less if we played or not. Nevertheless, he agreed to a time and a place, so we set up a game at our local shop, and I counted down the days to our game. The day had come, and Reggie messaged me that he would be 1 hour late. I replied that it should be fine as long as we get straight to gaming once we're there. He agreed. I arrive early, and Reggie comes in 15 minutes later than even him being late. He gives me a light apology, and I say, it's all good, man, let's just play. As I was rolling for the mission, Reggie begins to explain that he's late because he kicked his girlfriend out of his apartment after she, and I quote, bitched at him for being out late last night, unquote. He laughed about it, and I gave a sign of neutral acknowledgement, then quickly moved on to our game. Yeah, okay. I had no idea what he wanted me to say to that statement. I don't know any of the circumstances, nor do I want to delve into personal things at the gaming shop. I'm just here to roll dice, dude. He proceeds to bring out his models, and he is playing Speedwar Orcs. Okay, before we move on, the reason why he's doing that, John, I'm not saying that what you did was wrong, because it wasn't, but just for context, the reason why he's doing that is because he's not sure whether kicking his girlfriend out was the right thing or not, and so he wants a bit of, you know, positive feedback. Or at least feedback from somebody else in the hobby. Or he's lying because he's awkward and he doesn't want to really tell you why he's late. Maybe he had the shits or something, I don't know. This was a month before they were totally nerfed to the ground. I knew I had very little chance against a broken vehicle heavy metal list with my fluffy Thousand Suns list, but life wasn't always about winning, and my chances of winning, and if my chances of winning are not 9%, are not 0%, I ain't no bitch. Let's play. As he pulled out his army, I came to the stark realization that every single model was actually unpainted primer black. I know the League states that models don't have to be painted, but this guy claimed he's been playing since 5th edition. How is it he doesn't have one model painted? It was disappointing to see my fully painted army against a tide of black vehicles. Nevertheless, I was there to roll some dice and hopefully have some fun. Dude, I get your demoralization now. I do. My army's basically fully painted now. Well, yeah, mostly painted. And it is annoying. It is annoying. We started our game, and it was quickly apparent that Reggie did not know his rules. Worst of all, he was content with hand-waving and making up rules on the fly. All these made-up rules actually gave him quite a bit of an advantage. As a new player to the hobby, I had no idea if he was telling the truth, and I had no interest in thumbing through his book to look up every single interaction. Yeah, why would you? Why would you? He must be known for this kind of behaviour, because the experienced chop-over worker came over to our table to adjudicate our game for a couple of turns. The shop worker kept pointing out mistakes he was making, and lo and behold, things did not seem as one-sided as they had been up until now. At this point, it was far too late for me to make a comeback. Magnus was long dead, and I was scoring no points as he swarmed my deployment zone in turn 1. I was up the river with no paddle in sight. Then, when I thought things could not get any worse, he revealed another side of his personality. 3 young girls, no older than 15, walked into the shop and began perusing the various board games. Reggie locks onto the young girls, and a creepy smile emerges across his face. He says to me in a suggestive way, "What's going on over here?" Reggie is in the 25 to 35 range. Way too old for these children. I'm a father, and if anybody looked at my daughter that way, I would have to contain myself from doing something I would regret. I was absolutely disgusted. Dude. That's like... Nah, man. Nah. Nah. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Dude, if anything like that even crosses my path, I get terrified. You know? That's part of the reason why I don't work in schools. I don't work in all-girls schools anymore. Because as a young man working in an all-girls school, you can go in there and be the most platonic, nice, normal person, and you get interest, and it's not appropriate, and it's terrifying. The amount of times me and other teachers would have to go to the principal and our head teachers basically and say, "Look, I need to bring this to you because this has happened, and it's really creepy, and I don't like it. And if you don't go, here's the thing: if you're a teacher and something flirty or suggestive happens to you, right, you need to take it to your point of contact. If you don't do that, it's classed as you egging the girl on, right? Literally, that's how close you are to losing your job and going to prison, right? If a girl makes a suggestive comment to you, or an overly flirty comment to you, and she's a student, you have duty of care over that student. If you don't take it to your closest point of contact immediately after the lesson is done, by the way, you need to stamp on it immediately as well, saying, "No, that's not appropriate, never say that again." You then need to, even though you've said that, you need to then go to your point of contact, because even though you shut her down in front of the entire class, that doesn't count as shutting her down until you've taken it to your point of contact. If you don't do that, you're classed as grooming. Because you never know, you could be playing hard to get, right? You may have shut that down, but you haven't gone to a professional standard and taken it all away. That's how close you are to going to prison. Anytime I see any shit like this, the hairs on the back of my neck immediately stand up. Because I'm like, oh my god, you are so... Dude. No, it's horrible, right? It is absolutely horrible. It's part of the reason why I don't do it anymore. I will not work in an all-girls school. I don't know any men who will do it either. Because, listen, I can handle turning stuff down and calming things down and telling people where to go. Saying, no, that's not appropriate, you know, blah, blah, blah. But going to your point of contact every single time gets draining. And it gets to the point where you feel fucking weird because you're like, am I doing something wrong? Why does this keep happening, right? It's just best, just don't be in that situation, dude. Just to take yourself out of that situation. I implore all male teachers, step back and just go and teach at a normal school and, you know, where there are boys around for them to attach onto. I'm telling you now, it hardly ever happens in normal schools. When the schools are 50-50, the girls attach onto the boys, and the boys attach onto the girls, and they don't look at you twice, right? Because there's people their own age there. But a young man working as a teacher, dude, try not to go to an all-girls school, man, because it's a recipe for disaster. Even if you are there with the utmost best intentions, and you're there just to make sure that everyone's safe and secure, and you're way above board, you are one slip away. Well, I don't mean doing anything. I mean, what if you just forget to go to your point of contact because you shut it down? What if you weren't trained? Because that's not in your training, by the way. It's in your school handbook when you join a school, but you're not taught how to handle it, right? Yeah, it's fucking crazy that they don't teach it. But you need to look in your school handbook, look in your contract, and it will tell you need to go to your point of contact or you're classed as a groomer. You're that close. So whenever I hear people, grown-ups, acting this way, it fucking infuriates me. Because as a professional who's in this kind of a thing, you're making it hard for me, dude. Because you're teaching kids that age that guys acting like you is fucking appropriate, and it's not. Moving on. In that moment, I felt defeated. I was looking forward to playing a fun game of Warhammer, and instead, I was treated with a hobby nightmare. In that moment, I came to realization that I would never want this to happen again. Yeah, of course, dude. Jesus Christ. We finished our game, and I left as quickly as I could. I contacted the league organiser and let him know what had happened. Reggie was kicked out of the league for misconduct. Shortly after I quit the league, because I learned a valuable lesson about how I'd like to enjoy the hobby. I would rather play in a garage with my friend than try to win any tournaments with strangers. Okay, yeah, okay, well, listen, alright. We are in a hobby full of broken people. And, again, I get accused of having disdain for my own hobby all the time. All the time. But, dude, if you think approaching 15-year-old girls is appropriate, and you don't like the fact that I have disdain for you, the problem isn't the fucking hobby, it's you wank stain. It's you, okay? Alright, cool. But we do have people like this in the hobby. It's just a fact of life. They're in every nerdy pursuit. But I don't cover Digimon. I don't cover fucking Magic the Gathering, Pokemon Itis, whatever it is you nerds are playing these days. I cover 40k. Right, I play 40k, I play tabletop gaming, that's what I cover. I play tabletop wargaming, that's what I cover. And in our hobby, we do come across these people from time to time. It's not great, but they are around. Okay? So, what I would say is that it is a lot rarer than what you're coming up against here. You will meet one in your career as a hobbyist. You may meet one. You've met yours, right? You've met yours. But the tournament scene isn't full of these people. They're around, sure, but they're around in every nerdy pursuit you'll ever do in your life. So you either accept that you're going to be playing this game on your own forever, or you actually say, no, that guy was a one-off thing. And by the way, as soon as you brought that up to the tournament organisers, what do? They kicked the guy out. They kicked the guy out. What they've done there is they've backed you up, dude, and then you've left. You need to give them another chance. Give this tournament league another chance. That's what I would do. If it happens again, then yeah, walk and never come back. But like, dude, they backed you up all the way. Give them another chance. Don't seclude yourself. That's not what the hobby's about. It's a social hobby. Thankfully, if you noticed, most of my games have been pleasant. And exactly what I was looking for. I got to meet cool people in the league, and we are still friends to this day. Those friends met cool people in the league, and now we have a group of around 10 to 15 people. Every single one of them is a great opponent, and we gather once every 3 or 4 weeks to play some 40k together. It's one of the highlights of my months, and I can't wait for the next one. We have a Facebook Messenger chat, and we hype each other up. We trade amongst ourselves, we give painting advice, and overall, we have cultivated a really cool club. I couldn't ask for anything more than that. So, if there's any message I can give to new players, or veteran players, it would be that this is possible to have a healthy, positive group of friends to enjoy your favourite hobby. Don't let one Reggie ruin the hobby for you. Well, take your own advice, dude, because there'll be more people like that at that gaming club that you didn't go back to. I'm telling you. Thanks for reading this. I wish you nothing short of success in every way, John. Cheers, man. And you too. I hope your channel does well. But yeah, that is a shame that got ruined for you. That is a real shame. I'm really sorry that happened. Anyway, that is me for this week. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I may be on over the weekend to do like a bonus stream if I can make it. And I always try to. It never works out though, but I will try. Love you all long time. Speak to you later. Have a good one. Bye.